Hey folks, today we're taking a look at the brand new Kickstarter I just got in. This is Canvas from Road to Infamy. It's a great little game. We're going to take a look at it right after this. Hey YouTube, this is Peck Tech, and this little game came actually a few weeks ago. This has been on my wall for a while. I say on my wall because it actually hangs up like a painting on your wall. And we've had a chance to play it dozens of times, especially two-player mode. Holly and I have played this quite a lot together. Also, right now it's on Kickstarter, or the reprint of this, along with an expansion, is on Kickstarter. So it is a little bit timely, and I decided just to go ahead and make a video about it. I think something that goes hand in hand with playing board games is convincing other people to play board games. The struggle is real. If you've ever had to explain to someone, oh, I'm really into board games, and they just kind of give you that cockeyed look that says, oh, the only thing I remember about board games is Monopoly or Risk or many of the other ones that we grew up with, especially us over 40. Trying to explain to people that there are other interesting aspects to board games can be kind of difficult, and we're all looking for that great game that really brings new people in. There are a lot of games that accomplish this really well. For my wife, it was Carcassonne. Someone had recommended Carcassonne was a great gateway game, so we picked it up, and she absolutely loved that game with the tile laying, and it was just simple mechanics, easy to understand. You're making a picture. I think this falls solidly within that same genre, but it's got a little bit more to it. Like, now, Carcassonne actually can get kind of deep. Like, there's a lot of rules and expansions to make it more and more complicated and more interesting, so you just don't get bored. And I think this game too offers, in much the same way, offers a lot of different kind of interesting aspects to it. Something that makes it fun to play, even if you've played a lot of board games and you don't want. It's not like a baby game, like a little toddler game or anything, but it's easy to teach. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's unique enough to kind of really show people that board games can be more than just a bunch of dudes on a map. So the premise of this game is that you're making these paintings, and we'll go ahead and take a quick look at what's in the box. Okay, so let's take a quick look inside a canvas. It's got a nice instruction book. This is a nice material. I don't know what the name of this material is. It feels a lot like Wingspan, if you're familiar with that. Really good quality paper. Very clear instructions. The instructions and the teach on this are very quick. It really doesn't take much. There's not a lot of rules to learn, and what rules that change or new things that change in here are really easy to explain as you play the games. My game did come with some bonus stuff that's, I guess, intended for the Kickstarter. That's what these little wooden easels come from. I'm sure the retail version of this probably won't come with that. Also, I've got wooden versions of all the ribbons. Again, it's great, but it's not a necessity. Everything packs away in this box really well. It doesn't have an insert of any sort, but it's like all the components were made to go back in here and fit perfectly inside. A lot of squares, a lot of rectangles here, and of course the player mat here. All fits nicely inside. I got a little diagram to show you where everything goes. The player mat's made out of a fabric, like a sort of a canvas fabric, which I'm sure was not by accident. So what you're doing in Canvas is you're creating 3 paintings that will be judged by the objectives on these cards. You can think of these cards as preferences of the judges that are judging the art show. And there's quite a few of these little cards. What's great is they all offer something different. So every time you play, you'll be looking for like slightly different things to do on your when you create your paintings. And something that's really great about this is it came with all these sleeves. So all these are sleeved But that's not something extra. That's the way the game comes. It comes with all these sleeves, and that makes it really nice, especially for new gamers and stuff that maybe have sticky hands, or if you don't really trust that things aren't going to get messy or something like that. This will be a really safe game to pull out and play with people. Something else to mention too is so every time you get one of these, sure there's a lot of them and there'll be different rules every time you play, but each one of these has a really, really simple explanation for what it means on the back that makes this really easy to like play a different game without getting overwhelmed by different rule sets. The next thing you'll put out is ribbons, and I'm not pulling them out of the bag, but you've got all these ribbons for different colors that go above the rules that you've put aside here. And what will happen is, depending on how well you do, you'll get 1, 2, or 3 ribbons. There are all kinds of different scenarios for getting ribbons, but most are 1, 2, or 3, depending on how well you do with your paintings. Every player is going to get 3 of these. These are basically backgrounds for your paintings, and these colors are just to kind of help you know what colors are missing as you put the little transparent layers on here. And there's a blank space here for the name of the painting. These things don't mean anything on their own. They're just kind of they're a sleeved vessel for which you can put your transparencies in, and you'll see how that works in just a second. In this box here are all these little transparent cards. And on the initial setup, what we're going to do, these will go over here, and then these little transparent cards are going to be placed along this path here, this little track. So each player is going to get one of these little palettes. These palettes are called inspiration tokens in the game, and each player is going to get 4 of them to start the game with. So on your turn, you're going to look through this, look through what's available here in your marketplace, and decide what you want. So if you're taking someone new and you're teaching them this game, what you're actually teaching them is a card drafting mechanism, which is very handy to know for a lot of games. There's a certain anatomy to these cards. I'm going to throw this behind it so it's easier to see. You've got some image up here, which is kind of just for fun. It doesn't really mean anything. Like this, what's going on up here actually doesn't mean anything. That's just part of the theme, and it's just part of the game. What's going on down here, however, does mean something. Because you'll have different combinations of shapes and colors and other things that go on as you layer these up. I'm going to grab 3 just to kind of show you how these layer up. So you're going to layer these up in different combinations. And so you might be going for getting lots of these squares, right? Or you might be going for these little sun things, or triangles, or just having something on every color. There are all kinds of different things. Depending on how you lay it up too, you're going to end up with a title. Like this is Precious Purpose. And you'll see as you layer these things up, it makes a really interesting sort of abstract painting. They're all kind of fascinating. Like there's infinite combinations of these two. It's really neat. So what you're looking for is you're looking for what something to achieve. These things give you kind of something to shoot for. Like on this one, you want to get 3 of these squares. And on the back of the card, like I said, it's going to show you different ways that can happen. You get 3 squares, not in a row. You get three squares. They got 4 squares there. It's just showing you that even with 4 squares, you're just going to get 1 ribbon. But that's the goal for that particular thing. Now, if it's your turn, you have to pick one of these. And once you've got 5 of these clear things in your hand, you have to make a painting. Your painting is going to consist of any 3 that you already have, that you've drafted into your hand. You're going to put any 3 of those in any combination, a combination of layers to try to best achieve the stuff that you get across here. And then as you present your picture, you'll be judged on how many ribbons that you get for whatever you came up with. At the end of the game, you're going to count up the ribbons, and that's how you win, is how many ribbons you have. So what these inspiration tokens do is if you're looking at this row and you want to take the first one, it's always free. But if you want to take the second one, you're going to have to put an inspiration token down. In fact, you'll have to put an inspiration token down for every one that you skip past the first one to get the one you want. And once you take that one that you want, these will move down, and then a new one will come out of the box and just kind of get placed there. So as you see throughout the game, you're going to have a limited amount of decisions to make. So I think a lot of this this mechanic was probably introduced to kind of help with the analysis paralysis, and what that means is you can't make a decision because there's a couple of, you're trying to optimize every decision, and maybe you can't figure out what exactly you want to do. Like if this were the scenario you're presented with and you had these two, you could still like go, well, I don't want those two, I don't want these two. You can still do that, right? But as the turn went on your next turn, you'd have none. So if you had none of these, you'd have to take this one, right? Then these will all go down. A new one would come out. And now you'll have another inspiration token, so you get a little bit more options on your next go. So the next time it comes up, you're like, oh, well, I could take this one and get that inspiration token and get this for free, but I really need this one. So you could take that one inspiration token you got from last time, throw it on here, and now you could take this one. Things move on, things slide on down, and so on. And so what can happen is one of these unpopular ones at the end can end up with like a whole lot of inspiration tokens on it, especially depending on if you get into the higher player counts. And like I said before, if you've ever got 5 of these, you're going to have to go ahead and put them all together the best you can and come up with a combination. You slide them into here. And I'm not really trying to go with anything with this particular one, but you slide it into there, then you've got your painting. You judge it against these, you take whatever ribbons that you're allowed to get, and then at the end of the game, you count up your ribbons. You do this 3 times. You make 3 paintings over the course of the game, and then you're judged on those paintings. Pretty simple. This has a solo mode that I have not tried yet. I have played this in 2-player, which I really love. 3-player is also very good, and it doesn't change it a whole lot. I haven't played it maxed out at 4 players yet, but I'm anxious to try that. It's not very confrontational, although occasionally someone's going to take the pictures that you want. There is a little bit of analysis paralysis if they have the tokens for it, but I've reminded people I'm playing with very often that they only have a very limited amount of choice. Especially comes into play if somebody's got 1 token in their hand and they're looking at the board and they can't decide. I'm like, well, you really can only have these 2. You're either going to throw that token on here and take this one, or take this one and the 2 tokens and maybe have more options on the next go round. So although it can be hard to make a decision sometimes on this, it shouldn't paralyze you, and it shouldn't make the game drag out too long. The time on this game is supposedly 30 minutes. As you get into the higher player counts, like 3 people, it might kind of creep a little bit above that, but for the most part, it's true. This is a nice, quick little 30-minute game. A great game to play if you're waiting on somebody else to arrive, or you're just trying to show someone that's new to board games a really neat alternative. I'm always looking for alternatives to the things that people thought board games were, and I think this really sells that. So that's it. Canvas. In my opinion, a great game to have around. You do not need the special Kickstarter components that came with it. They're nice, they're not bad, but it's definitely not something essential. The actual tokens that come with it are pretty good. Like the paper tokens and stuff are not bad at all, and they don't really take away from the overall experience. There's nothing significantly more improved by the tactile experience. Now, if you want to go get the other things, you can. Absolutely. But if you decide to pick this up in retail, or you want to get just a the basic version of this, you're still going to get a really good quality game that I think is going to become one of the new classics for entry-level games. That's really all I got to say about this game. I really think you guys are going to enjoy it. That's why I had to kind of get on and bring it up. It's a really interesting game. I was fascinated by the premise of it, and so many people in my life are artists and actually make paintings and stuff, myself included. And because of that, it made it even more interesting. I think you're going to like it. That's all I got for now. Have fun playing your games, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.